Hi single Pringles, I wanted to do a really quick pop-up live because I just felt compelled with some energy coming through the website and the workshops that I've seen pop up over the last couple of weeks. I thought maybe I would do a quick recap for those of you that haven't come across the workshops in the past. If you happen to have questions or different things that you want to add along the way, please do. I will answer some of those as I go. But I just wanted to go over some of the workshops that aren't the coaching that I do, the group coaching or the one-on-one coaching, 2 online workshops that are available for you to access at any time. And the first one that I've noticed has been selling and there's been a kind of surge of interest of late is the Single Pringles Values Workshop. There might be a stack of you that have jumped on board the Values Workshop. So I'd love to hear if you did it and you found it worked. I know that there's plenty of you that are in relationships since doing it, which is amazing. But for those of you that have joined Single Pringle over the last few months or maybe even 6 months and didn't really activate or kind of activate, I suppose, all that information when I launched Single Pringle, I wanted to go over it with you today. So the Values Workshop really came from, I guess, a breaking point, or I suppose a real penny drop in my own relationship with myself when I realized I was kind of writing lists of the perfect partner for me, and a lot of the words and the thoughts and the ideas around what that partner looked like was coming from a really unhelpful place. That essentially, when we are taught of how to think about who we want to be with, we very much work on this type perspective. So if we were to imagine, even if it's like a hall pass and you're in a relationship, we talk about this person in a way that is really specific to a lot of external factors. So what they look like, what the picture in your mind looks like of what a relationship with them would be, what you have been told is an attractive point in a relationship, what you have been told is something that you are and therefore you would be matched. All of these factors, and a lot of them are kind of more surface level, I guess, piece of information. All of these factors really support this idea that in life we live by 2 ways. We live by a story that other people are telling themselves about us, or we're telling ourselves about ourselves, or we live by our feeling and our truth. And a lot of the things stem from feeling and truth are things that make you feel really good, that don't make you feel anxious, that are values based as opposed to surface level or story based. And when I realized that I had potentially been coming from this surface story-based idea of who my partner should be, I did some work with a kinesiologist, which then led me to create the Single Pringles Values Workshop. Essentially, it's a breakdown of the things that you need to do to separate, or you can do, to separate yourself from this story and this kind of version of guy or girl that you're thinking you need to be with, and starting to get to know who you really are, who is really best suited to you, and who will make your insides kind of sparkle up, not who will make your head tick a box. Does that make sense? And if you've got questions, you can ask me them as we go along. And any questions on the workshops, if you have been thinking about them, please let me know. But basically, the Values Workshop focuses in on trying to separate the 2 ways for you to better engage a conversation with yourself. So firstly, you start to understand a little bit more about what your values are, who you are, and how you identify with the way you feel as opposed to the way you think you should feel. And then the next steps are really honing in on figuring out how you put that information into a kind of an attraction system. So a law of attraction system where you can place a very clear list on your ideal match. And it comes from a values-based place. And when I say values-based, there's such a difference between the way someone makes you feel, where you feel like they're your friend, they feel like home, but that turns into this sexy softness that makes you so turned on from this very safe space and this very kind of natural space where you can truly be who you are, instead of this ideas space where you look at this person, you see them and you think, I should be with them. That's a good place for me to be. They would give me the future I would want. They will give me good looking kids. They will be able to allow all of these dreams and goals to happen. I reckon my mum and dad would love them. Oh my God, they would get along so well with X and X. And we think about all of these options as reasons to justify this person being in our lives, when really we haven't truly connected. Like we haven't, and often, you're not orgasming, you don't really feel like they have your back, you feel like sometimes you're not your true self, so you're kind of hiding and putting makeup on, or you're also, kind of second guessing your text messages. You might even be unsure about their commitment levels. These things don't happen when you match with someone from a values-based list. But you need to figure out what your values are and have a little bit of a clearer vision on who you truly are, as opposed to who you think or people think you are. So this particular workshop, sorry, it's so cold in this room. This particular workshop I created because once I started to realize that there were some things, not all things, that were surface value. There were lots of things that were beautiful and nourishing and were very much in line with who I was, but I wasn't the whole way there. There were parts of the picture that were a little bit, because I'm very encouraging of people being very specific when they're looking to attract something. And in all the work I do, the more specific we are, the better. But the funny thing is I was really specific on things that didn't really have meaning or value. And so I had to identify that. And once I was able to identify the bits that didn't have meaning or value, I was able to change them. I would go out and date. I would realize, okay, I'm missing something, because I've shared this story so many times on my podcast when I dated a guy that just didn't make me laugh. And I was like, how is funny not on my list? Like, that is my insides. Like, that's what I love to do. I couldn't believe, sorry, I'm just having a coughing attack as I go live, of course. I couldn't believe that something so spectacularly important to me was something that I had left off my list. So you need to do a bit of trial and error, and the workshop takes you through this. So there's homework. It's really best worked over a 4-week kind of process. You could do it in 3 if you wanted, but essentially you get a video, and then I encourage you to go away and think about some things. I give you all of the little homework pieces. There's some meditation. There's different ways for you to get into mindfulness and to really adopt these principles. And then the next video happens, and then it transfers from your own experiences and your own values to a partner's values, and then the last one is to go and practice those values. But there's lots of different ways that I'd work, and the way that I do my coaching and my workshops to help you make it really digestible. Like, for example, when I get you to feel and I get you to follow your gut, I give you tips that are helpful if you haven't done this kind of work before. So essentially you may have never, people have said follow your gut, or I kind of say go within or do some meditation. You might not know what that means. So the workshop really breaks a lot of that down, where I give examples of how do you feel when you're with your best friends, or how do you feel when you feel like you're your actual self, like you feel like you are just exhaling, your pelvic floor is dropped, your jaw isn't clenched, and you feel like you're totally chilling into your own groove. They're the kinds of feelings we want to feel when we start to activate this list. And so it goes into all of those. Give me a wave if you've done the workshop. I'd love to see any of you watching that have done it. But essentially, there are a few of you that have picked this up over the last few weeks. And I just kind of thought, it was a lot actually, and I hadn't really done any social shares, and I thought maybe there's a bit of an energy of a spring clean. That essentially the way that things had worked for you this year, when you were thinking about finding someone you love or finding a partner, you're really looking, you feel like you've done the work, but you haven't quite got to that place where you're making any leeway. I feel like spring brings that. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to say hi. If you have downloaded it recently, I see you. I welcome you. You can message me on this account or on my Instagram account at Stacey June at any time. I'd love to support you through the process, but it is really a very easy thing to do, and you can kind of follow it through as you go. So all you need to do is head to staceyjune.com/workshops. It's the very first workshop. It's the very first one that I ever did. I'm so proud of it. And essentially it takes you through video 1, which is your type versus values. Video 2 is writing your list. And video 3 is the group webinar, which goes through a different group of people's findings, how they got their list, what happened from here, questions. So I think sometimes everyone's like, I didn't ask my question, but there's such a good chance that the questions that I had in that group webinar are things that you would have experienced too. So that's why I included it. The worksheet is a downloadable PDF, kind of ebook, which tracks your homework and exercises, and it gives you practical tools for you to go away and learn how to do different activities to engage in your own value system, which then I hope allows you to think really beautifully from a nice, sacred, true space, which is exactly the place you should be calling in a mate from. So if you're keen, you can download it anytime you want. If you know someone and you're a fan of Single Pringle, but you've met someone or you've done the work, recommend it to a friend. Spring is the perfect time to start getting these thoughts into place. Summer is definitely a time for fun and play. But with this list, you play really, really, really honestly and in a different kind of spirited way. You're empowered to know what is good for you. You're empowered to know, what you want and what you don't want. So when you're dating through summer, you're meeting someone at a bar, you're flirting, you're kind of going to a party, you're very aware of what you need. So even if you do happen to have a one night stand with someone, or you do happen to meet someone especially amazing for summer, you're aware that they may not be your long-term partner. So it gives you this strength and empowerment and power for you to see what things are. So therefore, even if it isn't a long-term relationship that's in front of you in that moment, that you have a summer romance or you have a great experience, instead of analyzing about what it won't be. And I think so much of our experiences with, particularly as I'm a straight girl, with men and going through this development phase, I lost so much of the fun that I could have been having because I was worried about how it was going to turn into something, when if I had have had this list, I could have gone back to and said, okay, this is not the guy on my list, but I'm having so much fun and I'm loving flirting with him, and he makes me feel great. You've got the information to be clear on where you stand. So then if it gets more serious from his end, you go, look, this isn't serious for me. I've got an idea of what I want and I don't think I'm vibing this. Or he could be all of these things that you hadn't had on your list. He makes you feel good, but don't sacrifice. That's the thing. Don't go back on the list. If he's more than the list, then brilliant, amazing. But if you're taking things off your list to then be with someone, not so good. So the list is your honest Bible. You will be able to come back to it at so many points of your life as well, and really doesn't just, I suppose, call in this mate, but in the process it helps you get a better understanding of who you are, what you want, so then when you are dating, you are flirting, you are having a good time, you feel a little bit more in control of the whole thing. So you can download it now, staceyjune.com/workshops. And I hope that it helps. And if you've got any questions for me at all, you can DM me at any time. I'll just create a quick comment from Jessica. It sounds amazing, something I'm definitely going to look into because I've been thinking about how to go about this and haven't known where to start. Well, Jessica, I think it's the right place. And maybe I felt called to just speak directly to you, but I just had seen a few people pop up, a lot of people actually pop up and just randomly buy this workshop, and I had not shared it online in ages. I hadn't mentioned it on my podcast, and I thought, there's an energy here. I think people may need this at this point of time. So I hope it finds you at the right time. I hope you invest in yourself and purchase those videos. It is a really, really great thing to do for yourself, and it is 100% the reason that I feel like was the game changer, the one last piece of the puzzle. I did a lot of work beforehand, so I'm not sure where you are in your journey, but for me, it was the absolute clincher and the last piece of the puzzle I needed to figure out before I met Ben. I was getting close, and I had a list, and I was refining it, getting more specific, and the more specific I got, the closer I was to Ben, let me tell you. And he was everything and more than I had on my list. And clearly we're very happy. And, you know, it's interesting when I do the single Pringle work coming from a person now in a relationship, it's such a different place for me, but I really didn't feel like I could necessarily do a lot of this work being in the work and learning in the moment. So please don't ever be concerned that I'm a person that hasn't gone through exactly what you're going through and hasn't really done the work to not only do it for myself, but then to process it as to how I can repackage it and share it with people, because I wish I had have had some of this information. How to be comfortable in your own self, in what you want, coming from a nourishing, true place, but not necessarily living on the next step the whole way, because now you've got information on how to navigate the dating life to bring you to someone. But it's not just, this is how you get the guy. It's, this is how you find out more about yourself, so then you're better equipped to find out what's right for you. And you get super specific, and then they come to you. You don't have to go hunt them. As soon as you get specific and you work these things out, it'll start to flow, man. It is a really, really magical combination. So check it out. I hope you enjoy it. And of course, if you are interested in any of the other single Pringle stuff and aren't aware of it other than this Instagram account, there is a podcast that drops every Tuesday. It's Tuesday. There is a podcast that is up about how to navigates casual sex when you've come out of a relationship and being aware that you want to stay single. We talk about that on today's podcast. And we also have a Find Your Intuition worksheet. If you've done the values worksheet and you're looking to deepen that conversation with yourself, there is a Find Your Intuition worksheet that is also on the workshops page. And also I am very close to announcing an event in Melbourne and Sydney that will cover some of that intuition work. But the workshop, the values workshop, is really specific if you are a person that is yearning for a relationship, looking for someone special, and just feeling like you aren't quite meeting the right people and you aren't quite getting where you want to go. This will be a very, very big help and hopefully a game changer for you in the process, and allow you to have a whole lot of fun across summer instead of stressing and being anxious about when they're going to text back and why you feel alone. So my friends, it is my gift from me to you, and I hope you enjoy it. Any questions, as I said, hit me up, and I'll chat to you soon. Thanks.